Oh, guys, I just want to talk a little bit today about gear and preparation and stuff. Everybody's always asking, what do you carry? Post what you got in your bug out bag and all that kind of stuff. Last year, one of the big things that I seen that really stuck out in my mind was where do people, where do you guys cut your costs? Um, what gear do you not spend as much money on something versus spending a bunch of money on a rifle scope versus a pair of cheap binoculars or something to that effect. Um, and my response is kind of what I'm wanting to talk about today, and a little bit of what I've been doing to kind of to reorganize all my stuff. I've been discussing a lot with my uncle Bill, and he's a horse shearer, lives out in Colorado, does a lot of elk hunting. Um, not real big into prepping. I mean, I guess you could say he is, but a lot of his stuff is geared around elk camp. But the big kick that I've been on recently is one and done. Uh, One rifle, one tent. You know, realistically, one knife, one pack, etc. One and done. And that's kind of how I cut my costs down. I'm married. I've got three kids and one on the way. I can't afford to spend a bunch of money on gear and stuff like that. So what I do to help minimize my cost is whenever I think about what I need, versus fancy gear that I'd like to have or something that I want to try that's new or whatever. I think about what I actually need in order to make certain things happen, to go on certain hunts, to survive in a certain area or season. And I'll start with my rifle. I got a model 1895 Marlin 4570. It's a lever action. It holds 5+1 round, I guess. Um, and that rifle is big enough to kill everything in North America that I could ever afford to go hunting. That's going to take care of my deer, hog, uh, pronghorn, bear, elk, moose, ram, mountain goat, and home intrusion. If somebody breaks into my place, I don't need 30 rounds in an AR-15. You put one of them rounds through somebody, they're going to stop. I've read multiple accounts of guys charging grizzly bears with them things, and one round going through the skull, and the bear slides to a stop. I've seen multiple videos. One guy actually made a deer do a backflip when he shot it in the chest. So terrific round, and that's one thing about the 4570 is there's so many different manufacturers out there. They make all different types of bullets. You can really go and find yourself a bullet to tailor to a specific hunt or specific game. You need to know a little bit about bullet design and exterior and terminal ballistics. That can go a long way with helping you decide which type of ammo to buy, and realistically saving you a couple bucks, which always helps. But I do the same thing with everything that I've got. I narrow it down. I do my research. I read the reviews. I talk to people. And I watch and read what other people have to say on certain Facebook groups and pages and stuff. Do your research. Find out what you need to make sure that you can do a specific job. It's just another tool. Just because you label yourself a prepper or something like that doesn't mean that you got to have the latest and greatest gear and all this fancy stuff. What realistically can you carry on your back, first of all, and what realistically do you need in order to be successful in your endeavor? That's all I do. And whenever I finally narrow my choices down, I don't go for the cheapest one, and I don't go for the most expensive one. I go for the most practical one. What's going to work for me? What do I know is going to produce for me in the field? And then from there, I make my decision based on reputable, you know, leaders in the industry and stuff that's been proven for other people in the field in the past. You know, you really can't go wrong with reading reviews and trusting a little bit of that. So, you know, if I need something, not want, if I need a specific piece of gear, I get the best value I can get for my money. I may spend a little bit extra on it, but that's the catch. I'm not buying a piece of equipment that I don't need, therefore I'm not wasting that money on it. I'm spending the money to get something that I do need. It just makes sense. To me, that's common sense. If you need it, you got to have it. And if you got to have it, might as well have the best and something that's going to work for you for years to come. Not something, I'm not knocking Harbor Freight Tools or anything, but I've seen a lot of them things get broken on jobs and stuff, and I'm sure they've got some great stuff out there. But you know, you need to really think about that. And you know, some people were like, well, where do you cut your costs? You know, well, in my opinion, if you've got to have it, you shouldn't be cutting costs. You should get what's going to work. Where you cut costs is on not buying stuff that you don't need. So in a nutshell, I mean, that's pretty much what I do, just like I did with my rifle, just like I do with a lot of my camping equipment. I use a lot of military issued stuff. One, because I'm familiar with it. I spent 6 years as an airborne infantryman. I've used a lot of the field gear that they have to offer. I know what's worth buying. I know what's not worth buying. I know what's going to come in handy and what won't. Some stuff that we weren't allowed to use, but we were issued it, and we just didn't really bring it because it wasn't really practical to bring on top of all the other gear that you had to have. So a lot of stuff just got, you know, kind of left back in the barracks. But keep that in mind when you're outfitting yourself or when you're trying to get together, you know, pieces of camping equipment or like me, you know, I've got a growing family and I'm trying to get together a bunch of stuff to outfit everybody, you know, when we go on a camp or when we go and do this or that, you know, trying to take care of everybody at once, you know, what's going to be practical, what's going to work, what's going to cover down on all of us. So just keep that kind of stuff in mind, and you probably surprise yourself on the amount of money that you save and how